Welcome. This is our beautiful Simplify Your Art class. And I'm so happy to be here with you. I would love to give you a little supply list just in case you don't have that in front of you. Okay. The first thing is if you are drawing, you'll want paper, of course, whatever you're working with, crayons, pens, markers, pencils, whatever you have. If you're painting, you'll want to have your paintbrushes, your paints, a vessel for cleaning your brushes. And of course, I always forget this and I always have to run and get it. Just some tissue to blot with. I would love for you to have something from nature, be it a flower, a leaf, a plant, a crystal, a stone, a piece of bark. James brought this back from a hike for me the other day. So beautiful. But anything that Mother Nature herself has made. I have a piece of wood as well from the forest. Then you'll also want, if you are, and you might be doing more than one of each of these, if you are collaging, you'll want to have like a little collection of ephemera. So I have some old paintings of my own. I have some postcards. I have these are watercolor scraps that I made a long time ago that I definitely want to use. Things that you love. I even have one of Jonah's first paintings from nursery school, which I love. And I use it for inspiration all the time. Magazine clippings, anything you need. You'll want to have scissors if you are doing collage work, and a glue stick or some sort of fixative as well. Get some water so you can drink your water. And the phone sort of mount that I'm using is a light. Actually, it's not on right now because we don't need the light, but it's from a company called Canvas. Not crazy expensive. I think it was over $100, but under $2, and a really great investment if you are an artist and you want to start to show your work online and show your process online. And I'll sort of sort that out as we go so that you can see what I'm doing. The first thing I'd like to do, once you have all your supplies, is just to close your eyes for a couple moments together. Take a few deep breaths here. Just land in the space together. Today's a day for us to forget about everything else and just make art. And what this means is we collect ourselves, we collect all the evidence of what is good in the world. Our collaborative space, this time together, the kindness that you have shown me, hopefully the inspiration that I will show you today. May any benefit we derive from this space together fly forward in time and inspire others with whom we come into contact. Let's take a couple of deep breaths here together. Good. A little smile on your face. And slowly begin to open your eyes. It's so nice to be here with you. So my intention for today, and I have a syllabus here that I use, and both of my books, both of my journals anyway, my intention is to help you start to create journal pages of your own. What's exciting about this is that you can begin to write your own prompts. You can begin to lead yourself into explorations that you might not otherwise be inclined to inquire. And so I'm going to move this a little bit so that you can see the books as I show them to you. Let's see if I can move it forward slightly. There we go. Perfect. And I'll start with Practice You, and I'm just going to flip through it a little bit so that you can see if you're not familiar with it. Maybe I will. No, I can't turn the light on from here. Some of these pages are just big washes, big empty spaces for you to write on, okay? And my intention in creating this time together is so that you feel like you can create spaces like this. You feel like you can actually write prompts for yourself that lead you into a deeper relation with yourself. This is one of my favorites from Being You. I love this one. And as you can see, I've already taken notes on these pages for myself. I teach classes from these notes. I put washi tape on the pages, as some of you have seen. Okay. So stay open, because a lot of this is going to be really coming from you and not from any other source. All of the prompts that you're going to design today, they live inside of you already. So let's take a moment to write down a word. Okay, the word is invitation. I'm going to paint it. Invitation. Just write it down. If you write it with a pen, awesome. If you write it with a paintbrush, great. A crayon. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just write down the word invitation. Okay. So, how often do we sort of wait for an invitation to come to us? Mostly, right? We usually don't actually create the invitation ourselves. And what I want you guys to experience is space in which you are creating this invitation for yourself. So maybe it's another color, maybe it's another pen or another marker entirely. Write down what this word means to you. And I'm going to go actually get my pen because I remembered everything else, but not that. Invitation. What does it mean to you? Invitation to create, to write, to be with myself. Just write whatever's true for you. To become something new. We're brainstorming. What does invitation mean to you right now? To listen. To breathe. To cultivate harmony. What does invitation mean to you? And I'm going to get an extension cord so that I can plug in the light so that you can see very clearly what I'm doing. Here. That's handy. This would be nice to be able to see. clear what is happening on the paper. There we go. Okay. Light's not going on. Alas. Okay. So once you have your invitation, I'd like for you to keep this page ongoing. Set it off to the side because we're going to come back to it. The process of creating, I wanted to talk a little bit about the two books. The process of creating the two books was not dissimilar to this. I would collect, obviously, paints, colors, brushes, all kinds of things that inspired me. And I would also collect art books, pieces of art. This is Hilma af Klint, one of my favorite works, and just start. And I would create little blank pages. I would create little washes of color, as I explained to you before. And then I would just leave it alone. And I wouldn't necessarily put a prompt there for some time. I started collecting all the pages in groups of color. And then I started to arrange the prompts. So I don't want you to think that you have to have these perfect, leading prompts right now. This is really just about color and space, okay? Now, I'd also like for you to write down what moves you the most of the following options. I have a couple of options here. Is it fields of color? Is it, and I'm going to put this on my invitation page actually. Is it fields of color? Is it natural shapes? Shapes in nature, flowers, leaves, those sorts of things. Is it time away? Is it time outdoors? Okay. Fifth choice, is it some special space that I haven't mentioned? Okay. So of these 5 choices, fields of color, what inspires you most in terms of your art? Natural shapes, time away, whatever that means to you, time outdoors, which I think is mine right now. And is there some sort of special place or something I haven't mentioned yet? Okay. Of those 5, circle the one that means the most to you. I'm going to go time outdoors for today. And this can change. Time outdoors. Okay. What I'd love for you to do is take your first piece of paper, whether you're drawing, writing, collaging, whatever you've circled. Since mine is time outdoors, I have a very specific idea. I would like for you to make a color legend for today of what colors you would like to use to represent that choice. So mine is time outdoors. I'm going to pick one of my favorite brushes and get a little wet. And I'm going to start to create a little legend of colors that represent my time outdoors. If you're collaging, you're going to start to pull pieces of images. Okay, you're going to start to pull words. If you're writing, you can start to write about what it is that you've just chosen. My colored legend, I have squares of probably about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And I'm just going to make a line of them. And my time outdoors is always going to be greens and blues. So I'm going for all of my greens and blues. And I'm just going to make a perfectly imperfect little legend of the colors that I want to use. Now, keep in mind, I've taught this class once before. It was a little different then. and it was live. There were people live as well as online. And I actually started with a tonal exercise because it was primarily a watercolor class. So this is a little different. Time outdoors. I've gotten my greens and some of my blues already. This is the watercolors I'm using, by the way, are from Wildthorn, Wildthorne, and also from Beam Paints, Beam Paints. Kim from Wildthorn is in the northwest of the US. And Beam Paints is located in Western Canada. And that both of them are just incredible humans who are makers, real makers. And they both hand wrap each of their colors. It's insane. And I'm still going strong on my legend for my colors that represent time outdoors today. Got to get into the browns at some point. Oh, yes. So let's think about some other options that you might have chosen. You might have chosen natural shapes. What are some of the colors you would use to represent natural shapes? What about a special place that you have gone to or go to? And what I like about this is that we're creating a legend so that we have a boundary. And there's an awful lot about boundaries these days, as we know. They're really important. But what's nice about a boundary in an art setting is that you don't have all those choices to make. You have a few choices and then you stay within those choices. And within those choices, magic happens because you're not stifled by the too many. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple more colors here and then I'm going to call it. Okay, so if you're collaging, maybe you're pulling a few little pictures of things that really interest you right now, and you're just setting them off to the side. If you're writing words, you can write a list of the words that represent what it is that you've chosen. You know, exhaust your brain with the ideas. What a beautiful red this is. Wow. Super earthy. It's exactly what the earth looks like right now around here. All right, cool. I have a great selection of sort of what it means to spend time outdoors for me. So I'll wash my brush and set it on top. I'm sure you know this, but never leave your brush in the water. Okay, let's move on. I would like for you to now, those of you who are painting or drawing, you're going to take one of the concepts that you're thinking about, your time outdoors, your special space, whatever it is, natural shapes. And I would like for you to take a brand new piece of paper and using your legend, however that worked out for you, amplify one aspect of what you've chosen. So for me, I'm looking at that and I'm going to amplify a piece of the earth and I'm going to use this bark to inspire me. I don't know if you can see it, but there are so many different aspects to this. Yeah, you can see it well. And I'm going to make a square of about, let's say 2 inches. Okay, so not that big. And you're going to actually draw the square on your page. And if you're drawing, you can do this as a drawing, of course. if you're collaging, you could make a little square of 2-3 inches or so and work within that space. It's another boundary that will give you a feeling of greater freedom. Okay, so I'm going to work within the space and I'm going to amplify what I see. Time outdoors. I'm going to use my legend of colors. So now I have only certain colors that I can use, which is actually really nice and relaxing for me. And I'm going to get into it. Okay, so you're amplifying, pretty sure that you can see me well. Okay, you're amplifying what you're looking at like times 10. So I'm going to take this little section right here. I'm going to take this little section and I'm going to amplify it, magnify it, amplify it is what I mean to say. Okay. What I want you to stay awake to is that when you do something like this, and you just take a section of something, you limit yourself in color, you limit yourself in scope, what happens? All kinds of crazy magic. You don't even know what you'll come up with when you're limited like this. I'm going to see if I can bring you a little closer to me. Yes, I can. There's a little bit of a shadow, sadly. I'm sorry about that. Cool. See if I can turn this light on. I really would love for you to be able to see. It's nice to have that luxury. Light is coming. Boom. How about that? Okay. Fancy town just got fancy. All right. So what's fun is, had I not done this weirdo exercise, I wouldn't have realized that these two wild thorn colors, this is like basically copaiba color. And this sort of earthy, red, rusty deliciousness. I would never have blended the two. And guess what? The two blended together are making something magical. So I think you understand what I'm saying. Like, don't hesitate to give yourself weirdo boundaries, because they're going to bring you to a new spot in your work. Now I have massive inspiration. I'm creating a book, my next book, and this color feeling is definitely going to be a part of it, which would never have happened. Okay, I'm just making sure that you, so if you can't see what I'm showing in the camera, by the way, just click on gallery. Click on gallery. And yes, this class will be sent by email to anyone who signed up for it. How's the gallery going for you guys? Is that better? Let me know. Okay, the colors that I limited myself to, reminding myself of what they are. Get a little bit into the darker one. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay, I'm just making sure that you can see. It's upside down, but looks gorgeous. Upside down. Oh, I see, because you're not seeing over my shoulder. I get it. Okay. You know what? Let me do a little, while you're painting or creating, I'm going to do a little reconfiguring. That'll be worth it for you guys to be able to see working upright. I know what to do. It's my first art class at home. Here we go. And This should work really well. Let's see. How's that? Okay, great. Great. Feel free to put on music if you want, over where you are. I'm not doing it because I find it to be a little distracting when I'm trying to listen to somebody and work. Yeah, this is good. Great. Where's my legend? Because I would have just gone right off of my legend. This color is one of my favorites. This jade that Wildthorn makes, look at how it comes out. It's almost like a little grainy gorgeousness. I'm going to use this to fill in the empty spaces a little bit. I love that there's actually a heart here in the upper corner. Any kids in here? Hi. If you're here with your parents. Hi, hi. One more chat. I have not considered making my own pigments, but boy, that would be fun. If I had like one more life, you know, one more full set of days in a week, I could do that. That would be so much fun. Maybe when I'm older, you never know. You never know. I love how this comes out, that jade. It's so super grainy. Okay. Going back into my blending here. All right, so you have the idea. What my intention here was to give you a little bit of a clear boundary and to let you see what happens within that space. And guys, I would love to see what you're working on. And because we're in a webinar style so that we could make sure everybody could come, I can't see. So what I would love for you to do, if you're inclined, is now or at the end, post to stories or to your feed and hashtag simplify course and also tag me and I will see it. I have an extra hour to spend on Instagram today because we are heading into Simplify. So I want to make sure that I am tending to everyone's questions and I'll be there. I'll see it. Okay. Cool. All right, cool. The hashtag is simplify course. Okay. Natalie started layering colored pencils over basic watercolor paintings, discovered there's a huge difference between wax-based and oil-based colored pencils. Primacolors are way more pigmented on watercolor than Faber-Castell. Hey, my nerd friend, that is really good to know. And I will not be buying any more Faber-Castell then. Okay, I've just blended a color that wasn't on my legend because I couldn't help myself. So I'm going to go in and make sure that I have it here. It's close to the rust colored earthy, but it's not quite, it's more mauvey. So I'm making a little addition. All right. Cool. Look how beautiful. So now what I'd love for you to do, I never know how any of this is going to come out. Now what I'd love for you to do is actually take this piece and choose one section of it and make an entire page out of it. Okay, so We're just getting bigger as we go. It's going to be my page. The section I will choose. First of all, I'm going to need a bigger paintbrush. Let's see. I'll use this one. This is one of the ones I used a lot in Being You. This one's a little bit newer. I'm going to choose, it has to be a quarter of your square. So I think I'm going to go here to the top right quarter, top right quadrant. Yeah. Let me zoom in on that for you. I love that we have light now. This quadrant is the one I'm going to work with. Pray for me. Okay. So if you're doing I don't know, let's say you're doing a collage, you might have to actually pick a quadrant of the little collage that you're creating and then creatively blow that up. Doesn't mean you're going to have the exact same piece or picture or even color, but you have to completely let go of what you think is going to be perfect and just make the piece. So let's do it. A lot of practice, you and Being You, both were created like this, like where I would say, okay, take one piece of that, go, you know, just go. So I'm going to grab, I think it was this one. Yeah. And this one. I think they're both the same. So on the pink. Icelandic blush. No, they're a little different. And this one. One of my favorite dishes, can you tell? Okay. Those are all going to count. I'm going with the upper corner here. This one is similar. This pigment is similar to the jade. I'm just going to combine these three to get it nice and rich because it happens to be very, very grainy. And it's the whole page now. So it's like a little scary and a little crazy. And if you're watercoloring, you got to be fast. You might even want to wet the page down a little more. Make a mess. Don't be afraid. I'm getting a mess onto the paper underneath here. Whatever. Ideally, I would have these watercolor pages taped down so that they don't buckle. I know that I should be doing that, but there was a lot on this table and I made a call to not do that in favor of having more color and more fun for you to look at. Starting to look like this corner, which is kind of lovely. There's some jade here. Just wanted to grow up and be Bob Ross. It's hard to see the chat. What paper are you working on? Oh, I usually work on arches. Arch, I'm sure is how you're supposed to pronounce that. What I like about this page is, and what you'll see in your own work, you end up with these little areas that you didn't expect to have. when you do this sort of magnification exercise. And in these areas, suddenly you get inspired by the actual shapes that you've painted to create the prompts for that space. It's the coolest thing. You'll see what I mean in a second if it's not obvious yet. Cool. I love that I'm wearing a really big sleeve right now, so I have to be super aware of what I'm doing. Blending the watercolors on the cakes, not the best practice, but I really love doing it. Okay. So I'm purposely leaving some space, as I did in my tiny one, between the fields of color, mostly because we don't have a whole lot of time. And see if you can see. I want you to be able to see what I'm still right up here. Okay. Don't have a whole lot of time. And I want to make sure that the colors don't bleed. Sometimes you actually want that bleeding to happen. You want the colors to go all over each other. And sometimes that yields really incredible stuff too. But we're just playing. And what's fun about it is it can be anything. Those of you who are collaging or you're drawing, like, I can't wait to see what you're doing. Okay, so that's awesome. And then I have this sort of lighter, fleshier color. And I have to figure out how I made that too. I think I did this, and that to make that one. Yes, cool. Tuck that away for the moment. Get right in here. What I also love about making these pieces, pages like this, is that not only do you have no idea what's going to happen, but you don't even know if you're painting the right side up. You might be painting a page and you might end up turning it completely upside down. James taught me that. I was painting one day earlier this year, and he's like, turn it upside down, check it. And it was exactly what it should have been. It's so cool. I have this upper corner, roughly, like my version of it for now. Fait accompli. Cool. All right. So that's the upper corner of this little situation. Make sure you can see it all. There you go. And look how cool. I didn't have to like think of anything, you know, I didn't have to make something up. I wasn't stressed out about making a beautiful anything. I just set it up for myself. And that's awesome. And so is this. And even so is this way. Matter of fact, this way, the way that it started looks a lot like sort of reality, but I really like this for autumn here in the Southwest. So you see where we went, okay? Now, I'd love for you to go back to your smallie, your little baby one, and create a legend of the colors that you use there. Okay. So it's not as vast a scope as the legend that you initially created. It's a smaller scope. It's got a few of those colors in it, but not all of them. Go back and make that. You can do it right on the corner, it's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. I like using for legends, the sort of straight edge with a little slant, because it seems to work well when I'm making little mini squares. Satisfies me, sort of like bowling, where you get the ball exactly where you want it. Oh, the nerds are here. That was my jade. Your water might be getting a little muddy or murky. So after this, we'll go ahead and take a moment to switch it up, if you like. We're just making the legend for the small piece that you made. The small piece that gave rise to the big page. Cool. I have one more to go. It's almost there. It's not quite perfect, but it's almost there. Cool. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a moment to so nice. We give you a moment to change your water if you're watercoloring, which I will do now. And then I have a few more assignments for us. Look at I love the color though. It's so beautiful. The light pink. Be right back. All right. Water is back. You want to do a little cleanup of your space, you can do that now. I'm always a big fan of just the wee bit of sorting. This will be my scrap piece. Now that it's become that. So, okay. What I would love for you to do now is take a moment to consider something else in your space at the moment. Could be, I have a little bouquet of flowers that I set out for myself. I have a stone, this little apophyllite, I'll show you here, apophyllite and stilbite. With a little tiny bit, the green is chalcedony. Anything, can be a piece of wood, can be one of your paint sets. I would love for you to now take some inspiration from your space right now as it is and create one page like that. Mine's going to be a slightly bigger page. Show you a couple of ones that I've done for myself of things in my space. And as you can see, it's so charming to make the little legends. I'm going to do, I've got this piece of paper ephemera from Kim at Wildthorn. She sent this to me a while back. And I'm obsessed with it. I actually have a tattoo that was meant to look like this. that says Jonah, and it was meant to be the double line at the top and the single line at the bottom. So my piece is going to incorporate this ephemera somehow, and I don't know how exactly, but I've known that for a couple of days. Okay. So here's kind of a free, a free skate, as it were. Okay. Oh my God, Dawn just drank water from her dirty paint water. That's funny. It's been done. It's been done, sister. Okay. It's funny, I'm looking right now at the bottom of a vase of flowers and all the stems going like this, the bottom of the vase. I might have to go there. I would love it if you could stay within the original legend that you created. Try not to go outside of that box, just for fun. I'm gonna do it. It's fun to just create together, isn't it? A little jade foray for now. I believe I have this one in my legend. Yes, I do. You're not gonna like love every single thing that you do, but you never know. What kind of inspiration might come out of it? I'm already seeing something here, not in the big piece, but in smaller sections of it that I really like. This page is so absorbent, this paper. Look at how it catches the dots so fast of water. Sometimes, especially with watercolor too, you just have to stop for a moment and see what's happening. Because you really don't know if you just keep painting, painting, painting. Stop there. This green. And if you're painting and it's not like super, super comfortable for you, try doing something that you would never do. Like I'm looking at a bunch of stems right now. I wouldn't try and make a perfect line, but I just did, and it feels actually really good. So while you're working, I just want to talk a little bit about what you're experiencing from me. My inspiration for all of this came from the fact that I'm finally learning how to just leave my art supplies out so that I can be working, and it doesn't have to be like a whole ceremony. It can just be, I'm gonna go ahead and take out my paints. I'm gonna fill up a cup of water and I'm gonna go to town and create some art today. And it doesn't have to be like a 2-hour affair. It can be a 10-minute affair. but I wanted to make sure that in advance of Simplify, which is really what gave rise to all of this more art making, that I share with you kind of how I work. Look at that, the green just layered over the jade in a really cool way. That's awesome. I can already see that I want to cut this page down to about there. And I might be close to done painting on this page. Sometimes you may find yourself right now thinking, oh, I don't know about this. What I would do is go to a color that you haven't used yet, from your legend, of course, and grab it and play with it. It's so light, it's barely perceptible. It's hard to read the name, sadly, I don't know what it's called. But it is from Wildthorn, and it is one of my very faves. It's funny how it's making this color on the page that I'm loving right now. Mostly because the page is so absorbent. So I'm not really getting the paint color, but I'm getting this water absorption scene. There we go. Now a little more of the color can be seen. Awesome. I'm going to use less water, more paint. I'm loving this. This is so not what I would paint. You know, it's not my typical anything. But that's what I love about these moments, these exercises where you just challenge yourself to do something completely off the wall that you wouldn't normally do. Okay, awesome. I want to say this page is done. I just want to wait on it for a moment. Let's set that aside, shall we? Yeah, I think it's probably going to be an upside downer. Cool. Very cool. Things are looking fun over here. Now, I did want to incorporate that little piece of paper ephemera. I'd almost forgotten. So somehow my scissor got moved to the desk. One moment, I will get that. Scissor, where are you? Oh, there you go. I'm also in the middle of designing some washi tape, which I'm pretty excited about. Let's see what I want to do here. Oh, wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting that, but there it is. Oh, I love. So what I'll have to do is actually wait until this dries to glue it. So that patience is a virtue. I'll have to wait. Cool. All right, we have one more prompt. Ready? Oh, good. Nice. Maggie, thank you so much. We only have one more prompt. I'd like for you to take some aspect of that first list that we made. So go back to your invitation. page I wrote, to create, to write, to be with myself, to become something, to listen, to breathe, to cultivate harmony. Fields of color, natural shapes, time away, time outdoors, some special space. Take some aspect of this page on which you've worked, your very first moments here with us, and make a page out of that. We're going to make this third page, which is really the fourth or fifth, make this third sort of journal page, and then we're going to get into prompts for the pages. Okay, this is my scrap page. This is another page, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it down so it's the same size-ish. Roughly. Well, that's going to be a great scrap. Don't forget that. This is such good paper. So juicy. Okay. Some aspect of this that I want to create with. I think of the word harmony, and I'm going to go to this, one of my favorite books that I had as a kid, Saramita's South of France. It's no longer available. It is such a treasure. The washi tape that I'm going to make is, one of the rolls at least is inspired by her. These are some of the watercolors that I've made that are inspired by her. But I'm going to pull this out because I think I want to look and see where some inspiration is from here. Maybe I'll just paint my jade tree. I have a little jade plant right here. Let's see if I can show you. Can. My little jade plant. Okay. Look at her. Her work is so exquisite. I am inspired by this constantly. This is obviously the inspiration for some of the legend making. You know, so you can see that it's pretty divine. Something in here maybe. These borders inspired a lot of Practice You too. I love it when she draws fruits and food as well. Get into it back here. Our little picnic blanket with le pain, a little bundle, pepper, salt, mustard. I mean, how cute is this? Olives, little hard-boiled egg, little deviled eggs, I think. Meat, the veggies, the knife, the little bugs crawling on the picnic blanket. Here is a lot of this sort of vibe where I'm going to take my washi tape. This is from Being You. That little scrap. How much fun is it? I create something and then I cut it up and it becomes more than it was. These, I die. The palmier, citron. Oh. And then when she draws the wrappers, I really get into it. But I mean, I've had this, let me see what year this book is from. So as soon as it came out, my mom got it for me. 1990. Wild. 30 years old. Yeah, so here we get into some of the patterns, and this is where my washi tape is going to come to life, I feel. One of the rules is going to have the word love on every single, like sort of a little section in rose gold. So we can use it on our letters and stuff. All right, this is going to be a washi tape page. And it's going to be about being with myself. It's going to go like that. I'm going to share with you what I use as inspiration. I think it's going to be this one. So, there. So this one right here. Yeah. You'll recognize it when the tape comes out. Okay, let's set it there for now. Color. I wonder what color I should use. Wow. Maybe the purples. I know this isn't on my legend. Forgive me. This is going to be a study for my washi tape. Being with myself very often. I have to practice doing nothing. And I know this isn't doing nothing, but I have to practice just being quiet and, you know, being less than productive, let's say. Which is really hard for me. My addiction is productivity. What I love about this is that it really actually should not be perfect. Use the same purples? Yes, they are. It should not be perfect. It should be much, very sort of exploratory and rough. That's what I love about Saramita's work so much. Yeah. She does kind of a longer, washed out piece. I'm splashing and I'm trying not to care. It's not easy for me. Definitely not perfect. Awesome. Yeah, I think the tape should be something like that, where the little sections aren't exactly the same, but they're in fact very, very much not the same. It's just so pretty. I keep hitting the light. Okay. To a little darker one. Smaller one. So I can't wait to see what you guys are working on, and hear what you picked and hear what you're creating. I love this. My room when I was a little girl was pink and purple. And I always feel like when I migrate towards these colors together, it means my mom is around. She was so proud of that room. And it had on a couple of the walls, it had like a floral pattern that was pink and purple. And then on one of the walls, it was a gingham, a pink gingham wallpaper. So there's a little bit of that vibe here too. Let's get into another row for fun. Splasheroo. Get into it. And don't forget, whatever you're working on, whether it's collaging or drawing, you might even be writing words. Don't forget to always kind of step away, turn in a different angle, close your eyes, take another look at it from another vantage point. I always find that to be so helpful to me. What's fun is that your other pieces are now dry if you're watercoloring. So we'll get to go look at those in a moment. Yeah, this was a good study for the washi tape situation. I'm starting to have a little more understanding of what I want to do there. Yeah. Got a little messy over there. Dog it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's going to be more like it. I don't know if it'll be 2 rows or even 3 rows and then shrunken down really far. And then the word love will be in the longer stretches of color. I wonder. I'm going to come up with that later today. Finalize those. I do love this part too. See if I can get a thinner brush and make a little line there. Yeah. Just to see how it would look. It's kind of nice. Do some dots. Yeah, there are lots of ideas here now. Cool. What I love about this is, this is her book. And there are just so many little sections where it's certainly not perfect at all, actually. But it's so beautiful. Look at the little blot there. This is beautiful too for washi tape too. Let's see that looks. It's so much about just letting go of what you thought was supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. Beautiful color, purple with the blue. I could do this all day. Yeah, that's nice. Something that I love so much about creating and painting and collaging, journaling, sketchbooking, etc. There's really no one else involved. It's just you and your heart and your hand. There's something really sweet about it. Super abstract, and then she just goes off. I remember doodling a lot like this in English class, with shapes and then lines that would connect the parts. That's really fun. And what I love about Saramita too is that similar to how we started, she'll just create like a little space, whether she's drawing like a label, a sugar packet, or whatever. And sometimes making that little space actually changes the whole thing. The whole conversation changes. I'll show you what I'm looking at again. This piece right here. You can kind of see where I started right in this section. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to work on this for a little while longer. Checking the time. Great. 9:15. How can you change to gallery? I think maybe I changed to gallery. You know, I'm on gallery. Yeah. Attendee view, follow host's view. Let's go to gallery for all of you guys and make sure that you can all see that. How's that? Okay. I'm going to go for a little longer through here. Super sweet. I love just letting go for a moment and not really caring about what happens. You know, this does not have to be anything at all. Sometimes the brush tells you what to do. Sometimes paint tells you. Sometimes it's the water. You just never know. I like this as a little washi tape study because I want to free myself up a little bit and see what else is possible. I still prefer this sort of vibe, but I'm glad I did this, you know. Awesome. Being with myself. I'm excited for the tapes. All right, so what I'd love to do now is give you a chance to, let's do any sort of last collaging on your already dry pieces. So I have this piece that I have to glue on. This page is still not quite dry, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on that. Okay. I'd love for you to take out the first two and just have a look at those. Those are definitely dry by now. Right. And just take a look and see what inspires you here. Okay. Not on the smaller page necessarily, but it might be there. On the bigger one, I want to think about a prompt for this. So go back to your invitation. Time outdoors. Very often I find myself doing this. Wherever you have some space in your page where you're moved to write, I'm thinking about writing in these little empty spaces here now. And I don't know exactly why, but this has to do with my time outdoors. So if I wanted to move myself to write about my time outdoors or what exactly moves me about it, just going to take a moment to think. Okay, got something. Step outside, period. What did you, what did your heart hear inside? Don't know where that came from, but there it is. You never know what's gonna come. Very often I'll go, if I'm really I'm feeling blocked and I'm looking at a page and I'm feeling blocked, I'll just go to the office where I keep my books. I have one bookshelf. I do have piles elsewhere, but I'm trying to keep it to that one bookshelf. I have to go through it again and just pull whatever speaks to me. And very often a lot of the prompts that you're seeing in the in the books come from that. I have so many ideas right now. I don't think I'm going to clean this up for a few days. Love to see what you're doing. Since my phone is being used for the second view, I can't check on the hashtag, but I want to remind you before we start to wrap up. Simplify course is the hashtag, and I want to see your work. I'm dying to see your work. Let's go back to the beginning and let's make sure that we have what we wanted here. You have your initial legend. This is going to be one of your journal pages. Okay, messy as it is. Mine's pretty messy. Okay, this is one of your journal pages too. Do you have a prompt in your mind? In a couple of the pages in my books, I've always used these boxes as places for my reader to put their thoughts. And suddenly that's where I think I'm going to go here. Something about steps. I thought I did that in practice here, maybe. Yeah. This is where my soul sits. That's the one I'm thinking about right now. Maybe there's something like that for you. This is where my soul sits. This is where my heart rests. Something like that. Could that be true? But I'd love for you to start to think about a prompt for your legend page as one of your journal pages. I think that is just the most fun. And now that you have a prompt on the second page that we did, what about this one? What about the miniature? Here, I want to say something about having a deliberately smaller view so that I can see more clearly. Something about boundaries. This is who I am becoming. Beautiful, Dawn. Feel free to jump in the chat and write, but I'm sure you're very busy painting. Boundaries affording bigger freedom. I'm seeing lines all of a sudden here. This is the process. You kind of never know what's going to happen. The pen that I'm using is Muji, M-U-J-I. It's a Japanese brand. That's all I use. I love them. This is a 0.05 rather, and this is the 0.38. 0.5 works pretty well on watercolor pages. Boundaries. Grant. Freedom. And of course, I'm thinking about emotional boundaries and relational boundaries. What does that mean to me? What does that mean to you? I wasn't expecting this at all, actually. And then I would just leave the lines alone and leave my reader to fill that in for herself or himself or themselves. Love that. So this became something really, really sweet. I want to see yours. The perils of a webinar. I can't see. The paper I'm using is Arches, A-R-C-H-E-S. I think it's pronounced Arche en français. This one, I'm a little frustrated that it's not dry. I think this is much older paper, to be honest. But you can see now that it's drying, you can see that the sort of dark gray of the water absorbing is fading, and I'm really getting the color now, which is nice. So when this one's dry, I'm going to glue that. That's a page for me. Something's going to happen to this. I don't know where it's going, but something will get used. I'm doing an assignment with my mentor to create a book of myself, so it might get used there. And I also love, just for the record, I so love these little paper ephemera things. Oh yeah, oh my gosh. This is an old Polaroid that I saved. See if you can see it without the ring. There we go. Sorry about the ring light, but I saved this Polaroid. Turn it off for a moment. Lower it. Lowering the light. Now it's off. There, you can see it there. I saved it because it's such a beautiful bunch of shapes for an abstract painting. But my point was, in the book of myself, and as you create your own things, like going back on, I love gluing envelopes to pages and tucking little things in. So don't forget that. That's a really nice way to play when you're creating your own journal pages. And then you have a place to, like, you know, put a little something. And this is from the cover of Being You. I just love the isolating the row of dots. Oh, this is nice, actually, right there. Boom. That would be cool as a collage. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right, I'll stop there. Okay. So envelopes and gluing the envelopes onto the pages. I just love, love, love doing that. I'm going to put all these little pieces in there, actually. Okay, so let's back out and let's see what we've got first. definitely staying out because I'm definitely finishing washi designs today. Let's see what you've got. You've got 4, you should have 4 pages or 5, depending. I'm gonna take them out and look, see if there's a prompt coming through for anything. See if there's something on this first page. Like, is there something there for you? Is this going to give rise to several other pages? Already I'm looking at this page going, okay, I want to cut it up. I want to cut this out. Send this to somebody, I don't know who. But look, it's a cute little postcard. Put a stamp on it and off it goes. You just never know. This one is definitely the beginning of the washi tape. Yes, there's some love in there for that project. Now, I'm not sure if it's a single row or a double, so I'm just going to do a little chopping. And I'll know more. Single. Wow, that's how that's going to go. The washi tape is going to be like that. I like this, but not as much as I like that. I will save it though. Use it for something else. Look at that. I have to get the specs. Cool. All right. So cut many pages up, send us affirmation cards, learning to love your process. Exactly. Very good. All right. So let's get a little closer. I'm going to turn this light off. I'm going to bring you a little closer to me. Will that hold you? Yes. There. Okay, awesome. So I want to encourage you to do a few things on the going forward basis with regards to your art practice. So the first is make sure that you have a little space where you can keep your stuff and it's relatively accessible. So it doesn't have to be like James would never go for what you're seeing here with all of this out on the coffee table in our living room. But maybe it's one box where you keep all the paints, nearby a cup with the paintbrushes. So it's really easy. Just boom, bring out the box. Maybe I have a separate box for paper and ephemera. So I keep everything relatively near, and I'll show you where it is. It's right there in that corner where the easel is. Underneath the bench is all the paints, all of my supplies. So it's all pretty close by. One of the most important things you can do is keep your stuff accessible so that you can let the inspiration move through you. A lot of times I didn't make things happen. I had thoughts, I had even images and visuals in my mind, but I never made it happen because everything was all tucked away perfectly in the closet, and just the thought of taking it all out and putting it all back, just no. So the first invitation is to keep it all very accessible to you, as accessible as you can. The second, which I think you've experienced, is you just never know what's going to happen. Put up a boundary. We started with a boundary on color to give ourselves some structure. Then we started with a boundary on size. And then we took something random from our environment and we amplified one little section of it and we rendered it. Cool. Then we took that rendering and we amplified one tiny little section of it, and I'll sort of white out the rest of the page so you can see what my intent was. This is actually a really helpful way to do it. And then we rendered that. Like, I just find that to be so much fun. I can't even stand it because you literally never know what's going to happen. Then we invited ourselves to go ahead and look around at what we're looking at. And in my view, I have this vase of flowers. I always try and keep something natural near me. And I was looking specifically at this little area of the vase. Look how pretty those are, by the way. So beautiful. And in that little area of the vase, I started going crazy. And you know me, for the most part, I don't really paint sort of so many sharp edges, but I just went for it. And I knew that in this piece, I was going to incorporate in some way this, this ephemera, which my friend sent me from an old school notebook, right? So I ended up cutting it out. And when this is all dry, should be about an hour from now or so, I'll glue it on. And then I'll cut out this page and see what it is. I have no idea what it is. And then that last page that we created was just for you. You looked back at your first invitation page and said, okay, what do I want to focus on right now? And I wanted to focus on just being with myself. And to that end, even though I was doing a little study for my future washi tape designs, I wasn't really trying to make it perfect or anything. I was just playing. And I feel like that's a really important aspect of creation. And we go from, very sort of structured invitation to a very open space. And I look around here right now and I can see so many little projects that I want to do, being birthed right here on this table, which happens literally every time I take out the supplies, because I never know what's going to happen and I never know what's going to come of it. On my syllabus for you for today, I have a flow that I wanted you to write down before we part ways. We're doing well on time. The brand of watercolors that I used are Wild Thorn. I'm going to show you the word so you can see the visual. Wild Thorn with an E at the end. And the other one is called Beam Paints. I'll put them under the camera so you can see. And the Beam Paints, why they're so magical is she actually wraps each one in a wax wrapper double. Like, come on. I didn't even use these today, but they are just magic. And I use them a lot. Let's write this down. Creative energy, flow of creativity, sovereignty, connection, feeling. And the way that I write it, this is from one of my mentors. And the way that I write it is sort of in a circle around. So there isn't one starting place. I hope that makes sense. So let's go again. Creative energy, flow of creativity, sovereignty, connection, feeling. At any given point, we're somewhere along this continuum. Creative energy, flow of creativity, sovereignty, connection, feeling. So if and when you have trouble sort of bringing yourself forth to create, which happens, figure out where you are on this continuum, because you might just be in feeling, in which case the next step on the continuum is creative energy. So, okay, I'm in feeling. I'm not going to push creative energy, but I am going to look forward to feeling it. Then that gives rise to the flow of creativity, which gives rise to a feeling of sovereignty. Like, even if you don't love what happened, even if you don't love it, guess what? It's something for somebody. Now, all of a sudden, I'm holding it up and I'm seeing myself writing a whole letter in the blank spaces. That sovereignty gives rise to connection, and the connection leads you right back into feeling. I want you to always have your creativity handy and accessible to you. And that's why I wanted to do this. I did it for myself as much as I did it for you. So I'm thrilled that we got this time together. And what I do want to sort of recommend strongly for those of you who have taken Simplify before, if you have taken Simplify before, please join us for this round. It's going to be very potent. It's the first time that I'm doing it where we have a live call each week, which is really nice. And you don't have to be on the live, you can watch the recording. And if you've never done Simplify before, what I want to promise you is this. More than anything else that I do, and I've been waiting all year to do this. And I wasn't even sure if we would do it this year. There was half of me was doing it next year. But more than anything else that I do, along with Michelle, who's my partner and designer and collaborator and dearest friend, more than anything that we do together, Simplify has within it all of this and everything that we need to create a calendar, a life, a day, a week, a month, a year of intentional design. And, I sort of wanted the mentorship to be that, but it's not. Simplify is 6 weeks. We have 6 weeks together to do this. And we are going to look at everything that is true for you right now in terms of how often you're creating. How often are you sitting with your kids making a mess? How often are you sitting by yourself making a mess? What does your calendar look like? What is being prioritized? All the way to what it would take for you to feel utterly courageous and every day feeling like you are designing the life, the day, the hour that you want to be having. Even when you have to be waiting on the phone for something, who knows? I want you to feel like you have agency over things. And that's what Simplify is about. If you have any questions, if you would like to ask me anything personally offline, not in the chat, feel free to email me, info@elenabrower.com. I'm here. Today is half work and half hike. So I'm here. Please feel free to email. And for all of you writing in, thank you so much for being here and for just joining in and fearlessly creating. And please do share what you've got. Simplify course is the hashtag, or tag me. I'm coming to look for it as soon as we end this call. I want to see your pictures and I want to see your creations. Thank you. And I think we should do this again, no? I feel like this is a really nice thing, and we should just focus maybe next time on one word and sort of give ourselves little boundaries and little amplifications, things similar to what we've done, but maybe we go a little deeper and a little more focused. What do you guys think of that? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, awesome. Elena, nice to see you, honey. Terrific. It's so lovely to see all of you. Thank you. I'm seeing all of your names here. Beautiful. Okay, more to come. Any questions on Simplify, let me know. I've just opened the cart today and it will be open for 1 week. And that is all. Please email me if you have any questions at all regarding how to register, what is happening. I am right here to answer. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, there's Michelle. Perfect. Erin, nice. Deepen. That's a great word. And yes, we'll do another session. As part of Simplify, one of the live calls is going to be an art class like this, I promise. I think that's what we have to do. Okay. I'll see you in Simplify starting a week from tomorrow. Thank you so much.